the trend toward conglomeratization, that's a mouthful, has increased pretty much every year since the 80s. And the current administration, first through its former chairman of the FCC, Michael Powell, and now through its current chairman, is determined to let what they think of as the magic of the marketplace work its way so that there's no real reason for oversight because there's such a splendid abundance of media that it doesn't really matter. What they don't take into account, of course, is that there may be a gazillion channels on the air, but behind them are basically a handful of ventriloquists who are pumping out that content through a variety of brands determined to get market share. The record of enforcing antitrust, which was deplorable starting in the 80s, has only gotten worse and more depressing. And basically, it's only been the courts who have been a decent recourse for the public when they discover that the forces of minnows being swallowed by trout being swallowed by whales, when those forces are running without any checks or balances, it's only been the courts that have said, no, wait a minute, you're doing the wrong thing. The FCC contains 5 members, and the tradition and law is that the administration in power in the White House, not in the Congress, but in the White House, that administration gets to choose 3 of those commissioners, and the other 2 go to members of the other party. So since the beginning of the Bush administration, there have been 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And on all except maybe a handful of votes over the past 7 years, the votes have gone on strictly party lines, with the 3 Republicans voting for more consolidation, less deregulation, less enforcement of the public interest, and the minority crying in the wilderness saying that the public interest deserves to be enforced. When Congress was controlled by a Republican majority, the FCC under Michael Powell could pretty much do anything it wanted unless the courts stopped them. But now that the Democrats control Congress, they at least have the ability to conduct hearings and propose legislation through their various committees, which can put a check on the work of the FCC. Ironically, even before there was a Democratic majority in Congress, something the FCC tried to do under Michael Powell was so outrageous that 5 million Americans got together and sent mail and email and protests to Congress saying, don't do this, roll it back. And that was basically the attempt by Michael Powell to enable any media market to be essentially dominated by one owner. Imagine a media market. Imagine Los Angeles or New York or any of the non-top 10 markets in which basically one owner controls several television stations, the newspaper, a bunch of radio stations, supplies cable, supplies the internet. That's what was coming under Michael Powell. And it was only because of a huge, massive protest joined by people left and right, activists ranging from the National Organization for Women and Move On the one hand, to on the other hand, the NRA and religious broadcasters, all of them saying it will be a nightmare if we put that much power in any community in the hands of any one person. The whole point of media policy is to have diversity of voices so that no one Citizen Kane type, no one Rupert Murdoch type, you might say, could control all of that. And because there was such a wave of support from the public that even the Republicans, who were the party that appointed those FCC commissioners, joined forces with the Democrats in Congress and said to the FCC, back to the drawing board. And that's exactly also what the Third Circuit Court of Appeals said in a famous decision which said to the FCC, you are out of your mind for proposing these rules, getting rid of the rules. There is no basis for it. You've got to come back and come up with a basis. And we are now within days of the FCC announcing the result of their coming back from the woodshed they were sent to by Congress and by the courts and say what the new rules will be. And all indications are that the current chairman of the FCC will once again say it's time for the great land rush, let the consolidation continue.